Maybe it happens sometime. Yeah, it happens.
You're great. PHP sucks.
Well, I can take a little bit of critique.
It's not you. It's completely not you. It's 100% me.
It's not you. It's your 5 classes you're taking.
No, it's that it's me.
Hey, Mark. All right, let me find the homework so we can talk about it. So let's see here. Where is the camera? The camera? All right.
100%.
Yeah, who are these people?
Right. So I'm trying to bring up the homework. Talk about it. And the network is pretty slow. What? Okay. Okay, so the questions about, and for some reason the projector is not coming on. I don't know what else is going on here. This is just really, I love Seattle Central, but
She's been broken before.
yeah,
Everything's
yeah.
broken. I think that new machine's owe me like $10.
You always did. It never works for you.
All right, so while this is loading up, the homework assignment was to add pages, menus, and posts to your final static website. And so maybe what is not clear is that the idea is that you are building the wireframe for your site. So right now there is no WordPress involved, but you need to create the wireframe of the site. And this will be also included in the next assignment. And then you're going to take the visual that you created and transform it into a WordPress template. So right now you're designing your template as a static website, and then you will.
So this is just HTML.
This is going to be HTML,
We need
CSS.
to start coding.
You need to start coding HTML and CSS right now, and then once it's ready visually, then you need to cut it up into pieces with PHP and make it into a WordPress. Does this make sense?
Yes.
And this is the approach, one of the 2 approaches that Mark was referring to.
So let's do it Monday.
This is the due on Monday. If you're traveling, I can give an extension, just like remind me if you would. Okay.
So this assignment was just about design or how the work is formed between.
Well, and
Right, so
create
it
pages
was,
and-
so the wireframe is about, do you know, have you done wireframe before? Or?
I just don't take it good. I have to go down.
So pages.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically you have to get from a wireframe to a visual that is
Not using.
static. We know, but we're not using
Like a
WordPress.
template.
So essentially it's going to look exactly like your WordPress site, right, visually, except that it won't be WordPress yet. It's going to be WordPress in a couple of classes from now. You first have to have a plan as to what you want to look, and then you're going to translate that plan into WordPress, right? So let me show you something. For example, and when you do that, you have to put work into the CSS and the HTML, especially the CSS. Let me show you something here. it will look, well, it will be more, so it would look more like this. Just a second here. Theme, here we go. All right, so this is a theme. This is actually a theme, right? But it's not, yours is going to look visually like that, except it won't have any of the WordPress, it won't have any PHP. Right now, you're only working on HTML and CSS. You have your wireframe, and then you need to keep on developing it. It's just a standard process that you engage with as part of the getting the final result, right? Because you want to get it right before you start messing with PHP. Just think about what it would be like if you have to change your theme in PHP versus if you just have to code it the first time and get it right, right? So that's the idea. And I think Mark was talked about this last time, that especially when you're beginning, this is the better approach because it gives you more structure. And then later on, maybe you can finish my sentence later on.
Oh, you can create your own.
Right.
templates, pages or something.
You can just start with PHP later on, but that would be maybe into 10. I don't know if what Mike does there, right? All right. So does this help answer the question?
Yes.
Great, great. Okay. So last time is, I'm sorry I was not here. I had to go to the urgent care. Did anyone get a chance, or did all of you get a chance to read over the header and footer lecture? No? Maybe we can do a review real quick together. All right. So continuing on, and Mark, please jump in anytime if you like it. Would be great. Okay. So actually, let me get my pointer. You've been busy at your BS program?
Yeah. Just had like a Amazon recruiter thing,
That's
which was intimidating. It's good.
But I'm sure it's a good thing
Yeah.
to go through. Yeah. It can be bad. All right. So if we take a step back, so far we have been able to upload a theme to our WordPress web file site that contained the minimum requirement, which was index.php and style.css. And now we're going to take it one step further by breaking down the index.php into additional files, because it just makes sense, and it's actually a PHP practice as well, to separate the header and the footer, because they're going to be the same on every page, and then we don't have to repeat our effort. And this is what these two files are about. And how do you include PHP files? Well, we have done it in a PHP class, so what do we do to include? Who remembers? Other PHP files. We're going to include the PHP file with the include tag, right? Or function, I should say, not tag. All right, and so let's take a look what would go in the header versus the footer. The content going into the header is going to be the head information, the title, the navbar, and the beginning of the content div. So your HTML tags are going to be spread throughout several files, and that's just the way it is. Right? So here is an example of a header file. And one of my goals for tonight is to actually hand code a few of these instead of just looking at them. So I think we'll do that, but just take a look. And you can see here that, fortunately, this doesn't work anymore. We have the start of the HTML tags, and then we include dynamically the CSS file here. We get the name of the site, and we add, so this is also the info, the description, the menu, and then we open the div tag for the content. And this is the header file. So we'll plug this into our pages, because this content will be the same across your site. So when I go to either of these pages here, my header is the same, right? It's not, it doesn't change from page to page. The footer is also pretty standard. It's going to contain the end of the content div, a clear div, and then some footer info such as copyright and the date, perhaps, right? So let's take a look at the footer file. We're closing the content div. We do the div class clear, close, and then in our footer, we can add copyright or something else, right? And we also close the HTML tag, where did we open this? Where did we open the HTML tag? We open it in the header, and then we're going to have an index as well, and then we're closing it in the footer, right? Okay, so I think I told you that you use the include function, which is true for PHP, but of course, WordPress has their own wrappers around it, wrapper functions, so they're different by name. And you need to add a tags to include the header and the footer with the following functions. So you get into PHP, get header is the function you call to get the header file, and then the index PHP would go here, and then you call get footer function, which is a WordPress function, which is going to pull the footer. And
That's
let's,
just for WordPress though, right?
yeah, so this is just for
Okay, because
WordPress.
I feel like when we've done it before, in the classes, it hasn't been like that. So, like we've done includes before.
Or in PHP class. I mean, yes, right. In PHP, we use PHP, and then WordPress is essentially a wrapper of functions around PHP. I guarantee if we look in the implementation of these functions, they're going to have include. Does this make sense? And at some point, if you know what you're doing, you may also be even able to write your own, but this is a pretty advanced skill to know how to use PHP directly into it. Jeremiah? Not right now. So again, it says static. If it says static, that's you cool that there is no PHP. It's only HTML and CSS, but it's going to, you have to create the visual component. Static and then add PHP. So let's look up the get header and footer files in the documentation, which is of course on Codex. Okay, so includes the header PHP template from your current theme directory. And of course, what that means is that we must have, for this to work, we must have upload header.php in the folder. Are we following? Right, yeah. So we're going to have those files, upload them, and then include them in the theme by calling the get header function. If a name is specified, then the specified header name will be included. If the theme contains no header, then the header from the default theme will be included, and this is again the architecture of WordPress. If you don't have your custom, it's going to pull the default, right? So this is you can give it the name of the file, calls to the header name.php. It is an optional parameter, which means that you do not have to include it. But if you include it, it's calls the header-name.php. And so maybe we can look at a couple examples here. If we have just one header, then we'll just call the header function. And this is I think we will make our own 404 as well, right? So if the page is not found, you can display your own custom 404, and this is an example that how this might be done. So essentially, it's just a bunch of includes, and now all you do is to say error 404, and everything else gets pulled in from elsewhere. That's probably the simplest page you can template, but you can template it because I'm sure you have seen like the clever error 404s, like with images and GIFs and so on. So you can do that if you wanted to. Or you can include header for different pages, so that, let's say, I've been talking about the fact that we're going to use the header because it's the same across, but if you want to make it different, then you can. And then if you want to make it different, then you're going to call it by the name, so that if you're on the home page, you call a header specific for the home page, whereas if you're on the 404 page, you might have some customization for the 404 page, otherwise get header, right? And if there's nothing there, then default. And this is a nice example here with the if then else statements with alternate syntax. So we're using, instead of curly braces, the columns. Okay. And then get footer.php. Footer PHP template includes from your current theme directory. If a name is specified, then it's going to be pulling up this file. If the theme contains no footer, then the default from the default theme will be included. And some examples here. Do these examples make sense? Take a look, please. All right, so it's the same as the header, but the same syntax anyhow. When you're working through different HTML tags, there's some other parameters that you need to set. So if you have, when you have the language tag, for example, in HTML, it's going to have a language attribute, and this language attribute is English, let's say, and this is the static version. It's always going to be English, but you can make it dynamic, and when you are making your change from your static website to the dynamic one thing you can do is call dynamically the language attributes, which is going to pull up the language. So let's look up this next file. All right. So displays the language attributes for the HTML tag. Now, I haven't looked. So normally the way this is done is that it's going to pull up from the system. Mark, have you messed around with the language attributes?
I just included it.
Yeah, so we'll just, I don't think at this point we need to worry about different languages, but you just include it and make it dynamic. But the idea being is if it's dynamic, that you should be able to pull up different languages. Maybe.
I don't know if there's a setting in the admin panel where you switch, or when you first set it up, it comes up with which language you want. Maybe for the admin panel.
Right. So that's a possibility. I don't know if
I know it asks
dig
you
this
when
up.
you first set it up.
Yeah, but I don't know where that is right now.
Oh,
Is it
it's-
in the
it's
settings? Settings probably.
Reading. Is it reading?
I don't remember. Let's
Or
take a look.
general.
Time zone. So right. So somewhere around here probably.
Yeah. Site language.
There you go. And you have various options, and so it can pull it dynamically from here. Again, that's just something you can do. And again, that's the kind of activity that you are going to be substituting. After you create your static site, then you'll be going in and making these changes to make it dynamic in WordPress, right? So after the language, the title, and you can append the current page to the blog using the title. And then this function also can take, this pipe here is a separator that is going to appear visually, and that's how we're adding it. So we have a couple functions here that are going to go in the title tag. You know how normally in the title in HTML you'd write my WordPress site or whatever it is. And so this is how you make it dynamic. Let's look up blog info and WP title again. And you need to make sure to pay attention where do these go. So this one is going to go inside the title, the HTML title tag. All right, blog info. Displays information about the current site. And as we looked up last time, you can pass it a variety of parameters that you might want to display, right? So you can display the URL and on and on. Okay, so in which file are all these tags that we are looking at right now? They'll be in the header, right? Then there's the meta tag. Oh, I'm sorry, we have one other function to look up WP title. It's funny when you search for it, it often comes with not working as one of the top key phrases. Have you noticed that? Okay, but if all the page title displays the separator before the page title, so that the blog title will be before the page title, which is not good for title display since the blog title shows up on most tabs and not what is important, which is the page the user is looking at. There are also SEO benefits to having the blog title after the right of the page title. However, it's mostly common sense to have the blog title to the right with most browsers. And you can achieve this by using the sep location parameter and setting the value to the right.
Yeah, so basically, if you leave out any of those things, your theme's not going to work, right?
Because
they want to change the title, but if you didn't put the title tag in there,
right,
you know,
right,
if you
right.
didn't put the language tag in there, you wouldn't be able to change it in that panel.
That's right. That's a great point. So all these functionalities, if you don't call them in the template, well, I think some of them would pull the default, but for some of them it will not even be
If you don't have
enabled.
the PHP tag at all,
It won't have it, right?
It's not going to affect it.
Right. So that was an important point Mark brought up, right? You have to have these so that your theme allows changing from the admin panel the according functions. All right. All right. Okay. Also in the meta tag, we can set the char set. So this was one of the blog info. Let's see here. The char set displays the encoding for the pages and feeds, and so that corresponds to the settings reading, right? Let's see, I don't see, it should be under reading, maybe it's in the general. Well, the character set is associated with the language. I'm not seeing it here for some reason. It should be here though. Okay. So then next also in the header, if you want to link to a style sheet that other than the default style sheet or link to a script file, then you need to have a relative path, and you can use get template directory URI file name. So let's look up this function as well. Have you done linking to files in your, have you done the get template directory URI in your, do you have any comments to add?
There's a couple,
Products.
there's like template directory and there's also style sheet URI
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
You just have to make sure
You include it somehow, yeah. So retrieve theme directory URI. And URI, I believe, stands for Uniform Resource Identifier. So this would be the type of resources. So a style sheet would be a resource, for example. And again,
it's basically like it's kind of the same thing as a URL.
yeah, pretty much. That's correct. Okay. Now, if you want to do some additional scripting, then you need to add the W head inside your heading, the header file. All it functions here. Put this template tag immediately before the closing head tag in the theme template. So this documentation, how do you feel about it?
I don't know why everything has to be different.
Everything has to be different, and it's not really telling you much about the purpose of as to why you should do that. I feel like the documentation should say you should do this when you want to X, but it doesn't seem to work like that. So then you should remember that the reason you want to do it is if you want to enable additional JavaScript or CSS, then you have to include. So just remember to put this WP head function before your closing head tag as a practice.
So it
So
allows you to,
it's before the closing.
It's before the closing of the head. Yes. Well, it doesn't have to be there, but you should put it there so that if you need to use it with JavaScript or additional CSS, it's available. It won't break your template, your theme, if you don't have additional JavaScript or CSS, right?
Oh, since I think I mentioned this during my thing when I was talking about unqueuing scripts and styles. So you actually in your functions, like the officially like best practice of doing it is actually putting your styles and your style sheet reference and your script reference inside of your functions file, which is a little more advanced. And WP head would pull from that. So you would never want to leave out WP head,
Right.
because down the road, if you were to add it to your functions, then it would not pull your CSS.
so you'd actually have your own code to the functions file,
Yeah,
and then that would pull it from there.
yeah. So it would dynamically create your CSS reference and your JavaScript references for you. That's like, but the other way of just calling your CSS file totally works. It's just
Best practice.
best practice. Like it's just a little bit more complicated
Right.
to do it through the functions file.
Right. Okay, and then WordPress generates some classes automatically to put in the body, and you can generate those classes by using the body class function. One or more classes to add to the class list. So let's see if we have some examples here. So the following example shows how to implement the body class template tag into a theme.
So is that so that there's consistency through your body throughout your pages? Is like, it's referring to the classes that will be in your HTML.
Well, the classes normally are in CSS, but, well, yes, they're both. They are defined in the CSS and referenced in your HTML. So let's take a look at this example. All right, so we have the body class template, and then the actual HTML output might resemble something like body class, and then it actually has a list of various classes here, as you can see. So these are all the classes that got generated. And then in the theme, you would add the appropriate styles accordingly. So you want to have all these classes generated on your page, and then you do so by saying body class, and then they will get pulled, and then you define them in the CSS so they're applied. Right?
So you don't need any punctuation between all those classes?
No, so this is a CSS, HTML syntax. You don't need, if you have multiple classes, the syntax in HTML is to just leave spaces in between. So that's why it's like that. Yeah. And that's what it means. You just have 5, 6 classes there, right? So this is important, and this way you can define in the CSS those classes, and then they get pulled and applied. And those are the classes that are automatically generated by WordPress. Okay. And then, so these were in the header and in the body tag. So this would be in the index. And now moving to the header file. So we looked up the WP footer file, which is going to pull the function for the footer. And you should be aware that certain plugins rely on the WP_footer for this to work, right? It's like Mark said last time, it's a lot of memorization. So the WP footer action put this template tag immediately before the closing body tag in a theme. And again, they just tell us what to do, and then I feel like it would be nice to say why. Why are we supposed to do that? But one of the reasons is because it's helpful. Google Analytics is big, and there are other plugins as well that would require it. And this would go before your closing footer tag. All right. So that's what I have to tell you about the header and footer. Mark, anything to add at this point? All right. Question?
It's gonna be a dumb question.
One.
Since we have like on my within I have WordPress on there, I'm creating another template. I'm uploading those files like moving the index page. My index page is with my WordPress page right now. So
Right.
would I just need to rename it, assign it whatever index or something, or like, do I need to use it for the name?
You will not need to do it. So are you asking for this particular assignment?
Yes, like when I'm building, something like that index page.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
No, guys. So for this assignment, you'll not be submitting, you'll not be uploading this to your WordPress site because it will not
Right.
work. So you can just submit screenshots.
Submit what?
You submit screenshots. So like last time, or a PDF. I forgot what I said, but you'll just be capturing the visuals and then submitting them. I think I said a PDF file. I can double check it.
Like
So
PDFs?
let me take a look what I said. Does this make sense, Jeremiah? So you would not be uploading this to your site at this point. When we're ready to upload, then you would be uploading a new theme.
Does you take a screenshot of each page?
For now, yeah, right. And then when you upload a different index PHP, they will be in their own theme folder, and then depending on the theme, it would put a different index. But let me take a look here real quick. If anyone else found it before me, tell us what was the submission.
URL or PDF file.
Yeah, okay. So it's probably, I think it's an uploaded PDF.
Well, I have another domain that I can use. I can just, you know what I mean?
If you want to, but it's not a requirement. You can just take screenshots. If you want to send me a link, that's fine, I guess. But just take screenshots and put them in a PDF and upload.
And also, since I'm doing a real site so I don't have all the content yet, of course. That's how it goes.
Right.
So there's like any content still okay? This is how-
Well, you
Let's
can
just do a
use,
photo shoot with her like next week. You
Okay.
actually photos and like.
I guess if you want me to just make a note that you were thinking you're fine.
I mean, I know like exactly like how things would be laid out.
Right.
But I
Just put the content,
like in
some
like actual
sample
headlines
content.
and stuff too, but like I don't know.
Right.
She doesn't have some business inside of it.
That's understandable. With a client, that's usually how it goes. They will not send it until.
Just know that this week she's just like, oh, I had to give you all this.
Yeah, that's classic, right? So let me just plug in my laptop real quick. Excuse me. All right. So what I was thinking about doing was to also go over the lecture with the menus, and then to have lab time, and then hand code a couple of these pages together, so you can get. It's one thing to look at them, but you have a much better feel if you actually hand code them, right? And then that's the plan. Did anyone try what I suggested for the assignment last Monday when I was not here to create your own index to essentially cut up footer, header index in PHP? Did anyone do it? No? Okay. Did you?
I've not before
Oh,
though.
to chop it up.
I actually tried to find it and I don't know why I couldn't find that. Like on Canvas.
It was in this discussion.
I looked there.
No, it wasn't yours.
Oh,
You have.
this was not.
I think I still have some stuff. So.
Okay, and what do you have that? Were you did you take class before?
This class?
Yeah.
No, you're just saying in general.
Yeah. You were just
Not like anything that I'm creating for this class.
But you just have some stuff. Okay. Great.
Yeah, assignment one second.
All right. So, well, I guess we can try doing this together as well, but
Where did you put that?
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
I wonder if I didn't. Okay, well, let's find out. I think I put it under assignments.
No.
No? Maybe didn't I? I mean, okay, maybe I was pretty sick that day, so maybe I thought I did, but I didn't. Let's settle this. See, I thought I put it under assignments. No, it was old. Maybe it was an announcement. Oh, look at that. Did I not publish
I don't
this?
think you did
Because
because
it's not an announcement.
I've actually read that and thought, oh, okay.
Oh, yes, it is.
Huh?
It is because you replied.
No, I replied to your
But there's no
email
assignment.
Okay.
saying, hope you.
All right. Weird. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, it's right here on my view, so I guess you didn't.
No, but what,
No. Wait.
where does it say in that you were just looking at what you wanted to?
Oh, okay. Never mind. This was.
You'll be notified of an in-class assignments
Okay, so I think I didn't post it then, so this was my mistake. Okay, sorry about that. I thought I did, but hey.
Now we're not such slackers.
Now you're not, now you're not the ones who are slackers. Okay, my bad. Okay, well, my apologies. I thought I did it, and like I said, I was really not having the best day. Well, then we'll do it tonight. So here's what, let's take a quick break. Maybe we decided not to take breaks, so just like a couple minutes, not really 10 minutes or whatever. Are we done? Let's just keep on going. All right, let's just keep on going. All right, let's do this. So then let's talk about menus, and then we'll do the hand coding exercise, which I thought was a good one. What I was telling you, what I had in mind, it was for you to now essentially refactor the index PHP and make it into 3 files, and then upload this to your as another theme, and then verify that it works. So we can do this in class tonight. But let's first talk about the menus. All right. So there are a couple of different functions that you can use to register menus in WordPress, and one of them is register nav menu, singular, and register nav menus is a plural. The menu code, along with some other code, goes into the functions.php file. So we now have index PHP, style CSS, header PHP, footer PHP, and functions.php. So we move on to 5 files. And so the main menu is how you're going to access your index.html. And you want to make sure that the best practice, actually I think the best practice might be a dash, but lowercase connected, and then this is what it's going to display like. So you want to make sure to get these correctly as they correspond to the admin section. And this is the main menu up here is the user-friendly display. And after you have added this function, register nav menus, the menu is going to display under menu theme locations. Now, in the spirit we have been doing this, let's go ahead and find here register nav menu, documentation on codecs. So this is to register a single custom navigation menu in the custom menu editor. And this allows administration users to create custom menus for the theme, right? So like Mark was saying, once you add it in your theme code, then that allows the admin from the admin panel to add it to the site visually, right? So it takes 2 arguments, location, menu location identifier, such as the slug. So this was our main underscore menu, and the description, menu description, which is also required. So you must use both of them if they're required. And the example here is register my menu, register nav menu, primary, and then again the name of the menu. So in this example here, they're actually defining a function to wrap around the function in WordPress. I don't know why, but I mean, there must be a reason. So this is an example that does a custom function definition. So this, yeah, there may be cases where you want to wrap the WordPress function in another one, and this is exactly what we're seeing here. Okay, and then once you have done this, under menus, theme, locations, your menu will appear. So let's take a look here. Change the themes. Okay, so I changed to the single theme. And it's showing the menu. And if we look under appearances, menus, we're telling it here. So if this was unchecked, let's uncheck this here and save. And then as you can see, when you uncheck it, then the menu stops appearing, right? So you have to specify in the menu settings where do you want the menu to appear as an admin, right? And if I say here main website navigation, and I'll show you why we have 3 different options in a moment. Save this. And there's the menu, right? All right, so again, you have added the PHP, the register nav menu to your functions PHP, and then you can go in the menu theme, menus, theme, locations, and then add it, and it will show up, right? And that's something else we should try hands-on. Do you have a functions.php, right? Did I give you one? I think if not,
Just a nav menu reference in it. Always one of them.
I think we had that.
Yeah.
All right. So let me. Okay. I'll keep on going and then we'll play with it. So the other option is if you want to register multiple menus, and in fact, this is what. Do you see how there were 3 places where the menus can be selected? This is how this happens. So you're registering not one but multiple menus, plural, and now you can say, these are my 3 menus, and this is the user-friendly corresponding name. And if this is the code you use in your functions.php, now you have not 1 but 3 possible choices where the menu would go. All right, and in addition, there are various parameters that you can specify for your menu to customize further, and they include the theme location. So they're going to get passed as an array, which is not a surprise to anyone at this point. It's a list, so we're using an array.
Go back to the multiple.
Absolutely.
So for this, does that go in your header?
No, this will go, when we talk about menus, these are going to go in functions.php. Okay,
And
so
then you call those where, like,
right. So in some cases, you would not need, they will be just available. It's just stored in that file, and it's going to get pulled by WordPress.
oh,
But you also,
But,
you
right.
also in your PHP template, you also have a little menu. You call the
Oh, yes,
your
you have to,
header-
right.
In your header, you call the menu.
Thank you. That's correct.
so you have to call it in your
Yeah.
header.
You have a special,
That
like-
code goes in your functions.
Yeah.
Right. So this is going to be the,
Would you put the footer nav in your footer PHP and call that in functions to your footer PHP?
Well, you're gonna call, in your footer PHP, you're gonna call your footer. And then if you create a footer menu, then you can set that up in your admin panel.
right.
Yeah. There's a lot of connecting pieces.
So So.
Yeah.
This stuff goes in your functions, but we just said so that you have to put something in your header column for your functions.
Yes. So if you create a
So
main
if you
menu,
have a footer now, would it be to call it for your footer PHP functions?
yes, but you would just call your, like the WP head.
WP footer. You'd call WP footer on the
Right.
footer, right?
Yeah.
In your footer
Okay.
PHP.
So let me.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm going to do is
So
see.
you separate those two columns.
What you would actually do, so
So we're going to look at an example of this, and you just need to move it over. No, that's a great question, and I'm sorry I didn't do this earlier. And then we're going to look at the lecture and the concepts as a juxtaposed against the code. Let me just find it here. This stuff. Is G or E? Well, all right, let's take a look here. So the code I'm going to show you is the code that makes this site. So this should help as well, hopefully. Yeah, it's a lot of different moving parts, isn't it? I know that at least one of the themes that I've shared with you has a functions PHP already. So you can take a look there as well. But so here, let's see. Okay, so the functions PHP is going to have register nav menus. And we're registering 3 different menus, right? And then Star said, how do we include it? All right. So first of all, we use an array to set up the parameters that I was about to show you. But then in the header, let's see here. Oh, here, right here.
Yeah.
There you go. So WP nav menu. Didn't we look up this function? Maybe not yet, because we're just starting to talk about it. So WP nav menu. Displays the navigation menu. Right. So the way this worked again was that we wrote the menu in functions.php, and then in index.php, sorry, in header.php, we set up those parameters that you can pass to it, the arguments, and then to actually call it from functions.php, we used WP nav menu. Anything to add? All right, so that's...
The same thing happens in the footer then?
Yeah, so in the footer, we're calling the WP footer. So I think that only if you include, I think when you, actually what's happening is when you include it in the header, it's included in the file. That's why you don't have to include it again, right? Right, so you've included the menu and it's available.
But you do the footer content just like you do the header content.
or the head, sorry, the WP head, WP footer.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But as far as the menu, we include it only in the head. But from the header, it's going to be available everywhere. So we can also call it in the footer from the admin. We don't have to include this WP menu in the footer to make this work.
So your functions also have the utility. Where's the utility function? Where are there 3 in the functions? PHP. There was the main, and so there's the utility menu.
Oh, right here.
And where does that?
So right now it's just available.
It's available.
It's available. So if we go to the site, right? So if you go to the site, right now we selected the main menu. Honestly, I guess we can take a look and see where this would show. I'm not sure. I mean, it will show.
The footer too,
Sure.
please.
Here we go. But unless you click them, they will not show. It's just really all over the places, you're saying. Okay, so save this and let's take a look here. I think that we're not seeing this because I'm missing some other bits right now. So the only thing we're seeing is the main menu, but at least they are, by adding them to the function, they become possibilities, options under the menu settings, right?
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for this question. That was a good question. All right, so let's just review the parameters that we can pass to the menu. And again, this array goes in the top of the header function. We can pass theme location, matches the name you registered in the theme location. So theme location is going to be the main menu. The container for this is going to be a nav. Container class empty at this point. Container ID main menu. And the depth is going to say greater or equal to 1. So you can have 1, or can you have nested navs? And you can specify this as the depth argument. And then if this is how you coded it, then the result would be that you have a nav container. You could have a div, but you have a nav that is going to contain your menu, and the ID is main menu. And now you can use the nav passing in the array of parameters that you created. And we saw that we do this in header.php. All right. So this is the lecture about menus. Shall we do a few hands-on? All right, let's. Anything to add, Mark?
I was just looking at how we did footer menus before. There's a couple different ways to do it.
All right, how about you prepare, if you want maybe prepare something for next time, or
Yeah.
just quick briefly
Or
tell
we
us?
can go
Okay,
to-
all right. Okay, so what we're going to attempt to do again is to create the PHP files for a new theme. You can name it theme X or whatever, something different. And then create the files and then upload it and just verify that it works. Go ahead and create a folder. Theme. I'm going to call it X just because I don't have a better name. Maybe you have a better name. And then in your Word, in your brackets, navigate to the folder. And then let's create our files. So we're going to have index.php, header.php, footer.php, the CSS is going to be a lot of coding, so I think I'm just going to code share it with you. So for now, we focus on the PHP files, and I'll code share the CSS, and then eventually you can look through that as well. But you can create a style.css, and I'll just share the content with you. All right, let's start with the functions. Oh, sorry. So we also have to have functions.php. Make sure to, including myself, spell everything correctly. I know it's getting late. Functions.php. All right. So in the functions.php, we're going to add some PHP to register our menus. We're going to have 3 menus. So register nav menus. And we're going to pass it an array. Can you see okay in the back, Jill, or I can make it a little bigger? All right. And again, I'm sorry? This is the functions.php.
Is that supposed to, the brackets run right, is that going the right direction?
So these are opening, and then we're closing them down here. Now we have a semicolon, and then we need to put the content. And so these are actually name value pairs. We're going to say main dash menu, and then main website navigation. And those are different, separated by commas. Then util menu, utilities for my website, and footer nav. All right, so we have registered our 3 menus in this case. Save the file. And then next, let's work from the header.php. Are we okay to change pages? Okay. I'm sorry, Star?
Yes.
All right, so open your PHP tag.
Is there a comma after the footer at the end of that, like, to the left?
In which file? All right, here. This is the last argument, so there is no comma there. Yeah. Sure. So header. main nav. And then this is where we define the parameters. So theme location, main menu, so those are dashes here. So just be careful to be consistent, right? The next one is the container. Nav. Container class. Main nav. And we can have nested, theoretically. Or not theoretically, but we could add support for nested navigation there. All right, and then when you close the array, then you end the statement with a semicolon. And I should indent this here. Are we clear how this is, what is going on here, right? So we registered our menu, and now we also set up some arguments that go with the menu, and then when we call the menu from the header file, we are going to pass those arguments. And I just want to point out, if we didn't have a header and footer file, then where would we call this from? We would call it from the index, right? Because the index would contain everything. It's just we're splitting them into different files.
What is that?
So how many levels of navigation can you have? Can you have nested sub-navs?
Okay.
All right, and let's go. So actually, sorry, we are in header.php, but get out of the PHP tag, and then let's add the. All right, so Mark, if you find something out about the footer, you can tell us if we have time. If not, next time.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, so then remember how we were adding the attributes dynamically for the language? All right, yeah, that looks. Okay, so brackets added the closing HTML tag, but we don't really want it here. So I'm confusing my mouse. Here we go. That's what we want to do. Right. We're not going to be closing it here. So this goes inside the HTML tag. And then the head. Now we're going to call these dynamic functions such as the meta for the char set. So blog info, char set. One time. No. Okay, here we go. So it's been a long day, and I know for you as well. I think that's what we want. All right, so this goes inside the method tag. And next, the title. Okay, so when you're creating your static website, like for this assignment, you're going to have all this, except the char set is not going to be dynamic. The title is going to be, you know, stars theme 1, for example, right? And then you'll be creating the static page like that. And then next, for the future assignment, you'll be changing it to the dynamic, right? For now, you're just making everything static, right? Is this clear now? Thanks, Mark. All right, so in the tag, instead of typing stars theme, we're going to say PHP blog info, name, dot, WP title, type, which is above the enter key, okay. Next, we're going to link a style sheet dynamically, and again, there are two different ways to do it. So link PHP blog info, style sheet URL. Right. Just make sure all these. Make sure to use single quotes inside the style sheet, the blog info argument, since we're using double quotes around it, so that it doesn't get confused thinking you're closing. And let's just double check this. It's a lot of little details here.
Same on the meta tag.
What is your question?
Same with the quotes on the chart set.
Yeah, we should make those single quote. Thank you. All right, and then let's include the WP head. And again, this is for JavaScript, needed for JavaScript. All right. I'll close this guy here, okay. So this is our head, and then still in the header, we're going to open the body as well. Header. Well, the image a little bit. So H1. So PHP blog info. Template URL. Thank you. There you go. Template URL. Actually, I didn't want to do this right now. Sorry. This has to do with adding the image, and that's not what we're doing right now. So we're just going to say blog info and then URL. And then close H1. And then blog info, name, close the anchor tag and close the H1. All right, we don't have a lot. Well, we could have a lot more, but we just need a little bit more here to have this uploaded and see. The goal of this exercise is to show how the splitting of the files in different files still works. Okay, so then let's add an H2. Plug in for description. And WP nav menu. So that's where we are calling the menu that we registered in functions PHP, and we're going to pass it the main nav arguments which we defined above in header.
Can you scroll the screen up some?
Yeah. Second. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thanks for stopping by. See you on Wednesday.
And then the footer menu, I think you have to either call it the same way there, that you have like
Don't have menu.
just with footer menu as variable, or you can add a sidebar, which is a different.
You have to add the sidebar to functions PHP.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the other way.
Right. Okay. So we'll do this maybe next time if you want to take on to-do little example like that for next Wednesday. Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right. Thanks, Mark. See you. But this is all we have in our header. So go ahead and save it. Okay, not yet. All right, take some time here. I'll magnify a bit. Here we go. It's pretty detailed, intensive. Let's go. Stop it. Eric. Okay, and we also have footer.php, which really just has a couple of lines. So let's go to footer.php, and here we're going to add PHP WP footer.
Okay.
Yeah,
The last line was the main nav variable.
let's see. Sure. Let me know when you, take your time. I'll share style.css here. So I'm going to share it through code share and give you a link, and then you just carefully copy and paste. Don't cut and paste so that we don't. I'm going to post it. I can post it in a week 5 module, sure. Just, yeah, let me do that. I'm doing it right now. All right, here we go. Link to style.css for lab exercise. All right, I published it. So if you refresh your week 5 module, you should be able to see it. Copy it, and in fact, I need to do this as well from this machine.
Just copy it all for
Just copy it and paste it in style.css, please. And just again, just be careful to copy and not cut, since it's a shared code. Oops.
Happens all the time in JavaScript.
Right. Okay. Hey, someone, did I do this or did you guys? Who did that? Was it me?
Oh,
There it is.
Oops.
I told you in one of the Java classes, students needed to get some code, and I gave my flash drive to pass it on because we couldn't access the network, surprisingly. And then when you were in this class, and then somebody returned my flash drive to me, and there was nothing on it. Someone had Control X my entire flash drive, and we recovered it. But I was like, "You're kidding me, right?" Yeah.
Oh. You're like, you can get a 1.0.
Right. Yeah. All right, guys.
0.0.
0, right? More like 0. Sure. Let's get this working. There you go. And then we just have literally 2 more lines, and then you can try uploading this, and hopefully, if it works.
No, that's the function.
That's functions. So here is, I'll go back to footer, and we have called our footer function here, and now we're going to close the body tag and close the HTML tag. Let's see, here we go. All right, so save that. I don't know why it's actually, did I close it in the header? This should not be red. Let's see here. Huh. I don't know, it's complaining. Maybe it just doesn't know.
I think it just.
Yeah, it just doesn't know it's there, I think, yeah. All right, so
There's nothing in our index.
Now we upload.
oh my gosh, right. There's nothing in the index. I think for the sake of time, I'm going to share the index with you right now. Or what would you like to do? It's going to take another 10 minutes probably. Let's share it so you can upload it and test it, but next time we can still go through it line by line to make sure that when you hand code, of course, is the best. But for now, let me share so that you can upload it and test the idea of the splitting of the files. Okay, so another code share. And I would like us to have a few minutes to maybe troubleshoot if there are any issues. Okay, so this is the index.php posting. Okay, if you please refresh week 5 now. It should be there. Now just point out a couple of functions in index.php for now before we upload them.
What is the, I know you went over this, what does the WP footer do again? Not the get one, but the one that's in the actual footer PHP. Is that just like to activate it kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess you could call it to activate it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so once you copied the index.php, I just want to point out that here at the top of it, we get header. So this is how we include the header file. And at the bottom, we get footer. That's how we include the footer file. And we will go over more stuff next time as far as what is in the middle. But this should be sufficient for you to try uploading your theme to the WordPress site and test it before we go. And I don't want to rush us. We're actually pretty much out of time since we didn't take a break. When you upload it or where? Okay. So maybe save your work and try. Yeah. Next time, let's start with the lab instead of ending with the lab. And then this way, any errors, I suspect there will be several errors, and then we can troubleshoot them and fix them. Right?
So the assignment is for next Monday?
Which assignment?
Next assignment.
No, it should be for Monday. What?
Didn't you say our next assignment is due Monday?
No, it's always on Mondays.
Okay. So can you please share, like, in the zip file all the codes?
Yes, let me do that.
Sure.
Yes, I'll do that.
We're just doing the HTML and CSS. We're not doing any PHP files for the next assignment.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Just trying to be helpful.
Well, do you want me to share this just so you can see it?
yeah, just like to make sure I don't have any syntax error.
Good. But next time, you can certainly look at it if you want.
Okay.
Next time, when we meet on Monday, let's plan to start building your own files, and we're going to take And then we're going to upload and troubleshoot any errors, and then maybe also this time just go over into HTML. In the PHP rather, if you want to. Alright, how was that? Was it useful? Were you today helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think we're going to wrap up now since we're going to give a break, and I will see you all soon. Just make sure to save your files that we worked with.